If you've ever wondered, why do I do this? Then this episode is for you. We're diving deep into the stories and the patterns that can keep you stuck, because once you see it, you can definitely shift it.
Sometimes, no matter how hard you try, you're doing all the right things, but it's like this invisible wall that you keep hitting. We're going to name it. It's self-sabotage. And so we're going to dive into the sneaky little things that look a little bit innocent, but are actually your mind keeping you safe.
I am so excited to be joined by you today, Jess. This is our brand new mini-series, and like Jess said, it is all around self-sabotaging behaviours. And you've taught me a lot about this, actually. It's been a big journey for me personally this year, and I just love your take on it. So Jess is such a powerhouse. She's a business coach and a mentor. She's worked with hundreds of women, and she's so experienced in the space of recognising self-sabotage, both on a personal level, like you've worked so deep on your own kind of like personal journey with this, building such a phenomenal personal brand now, as well as working with other entrepreneurial women. So, and I'm Madeline. I'm a podcaster and a podcast coach. And together we have brought you a really fiery little series so that you can kind of break the patterns that are keeping you stuck, that are keeping you small, or that you might not even recognise now, so that you can live a life where you completely thrive in all aspects. Life, love, business.
Yeah, I'm so excited to dive in because my favourite thing is to dive into people's minds.
Yes, and you're so good at it. You were so good at it. I remember, we spoke about it obviously in the first episode, and obviously off the back of that first episode, there were so many questions and, interest from people. So we're like, let's dive deeper so people can really uncover this, because you helped me bring a lot of awareness to the things that were keeping me small and safe. A lot of it is like our brain is actually really just trying to keep us safe, isn't it?
I call it like the overbearing mum. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you're like, Mum, this person was mean to me on the playground. And your mum is like, right, I'm going to make sure this kid never comes over again. And you're like, but Mum, next week I love them. And your mum's like, I remember what they did. So it's kind of like your subconscious mind is like your overbearing mum, where we kind of create these beliefs that we're not even aware of. And then no matter how hard we try to work towards our goals, whether it's relationships, health, love, business, it's playing out behind the scenes and we don't even realize. So I'm excited to dive in because I think a lot of these signs are kind of framed as something normal or something very logical that we don't actually realize is stopping us from having everything we want.
Yes. And I think sometimes it can feel challenging to actually figure out, is this normal and should I be leaning into this, or is this actually just a behaviour that is keeping me stuck into old patterns? Yep. And I know that is sometimes the bigger or the hardest or most challenging thing for me of like, one, is this my intuition speaking and like guiding me, or is this a self-sabotaging behaviour that's just keeping me safe in the comfort that already feels familiar?
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to dive in.
Same. So I guess after working with, you've worked with hundreds of women, entrepreneurial women who are at the top of their game, they're succeeding, they're, as well as building your own really unstoppable brand and business. What are some of the more common things that you see women almost normalizing, but that are self-sabotaging patterns or behaviours?
Yeah. I think they get more sneaky the more successful you become, because when you're kind of starting out or on your journey to self-development, it's more obvious because usually it's very painful.
Yes.
It's like, this is keeping me broke, or this is keeping me single, or this is keeping me very unhealthy. But when you start to create more and more success, they become way more undercover because it's not painful. Oh, poor you're making a lot of money. But you're like, no, but there's this invisible ceiling that no matter what I do, I can't get past. So I want to share with everyone listening, and what I would recommend you do is maybe just get really, really curious. Because sometimes it is just things or a season that you're in, but if they're showing up as a pattern, then usually it's a form of self-sabotage that's playing out.
I like that you touched on the season there, because I think there's definitely weight in things being a season, but and I would say right now, as you know, I'm in like a season of which feels like this constant pull and tug between little humans who need me as a primary caregiver, but then also this career that's like calling me and, you know, kind of unfolding and unlocking. And sometimes that struggle like between the two, but there's definitely been certain patterns, like you said, that continue to loop.
Yep.
But then there's also moments where it's like, how can I step in a little bit today? Like, how can I just step towards breaking that a tiny bit, you know? So it might, and it's like sometimes those smaller shifts actually have the biggest transformations over time.
Yeah, because the thing is, the smaller shifts, they seem too insignificant to make a difference. So it's almost like we disregard it, or we think, no, I need like the life-shattering breakthroughs. But really, it's just the small tweaks that allow us to hone in on the life we really want.
And I think when you have that awareness, and I know you have a beautiful framework for this, which we will go into either later in this episode or in the next, but I think, you know, a lot of it does start with awareness, isn't it?
Yep.
Because it's like as soon as we have that awareness for the pattern or the behavior that's holding us, it's like we can recognize it and say, okay, how can I shift this today? And they're the small shifts, like they're the tiny shifts, but the more we show up for those and start to break it, they have such a compounding effect over time. And I think that that's where, you know, even if I look at myself 12 months ago, and I'm sure you would have this from, you know, even you 2 years ago or 12 months ago, like you can actually look and see, wow, like there is so much transformation from her to me now, which is really cool. So are there any kind of like, I guess, those common threads that you see? What are some of the things that women will say to you that you're like, okay, girl, you're normalizing that, but that is totally self-sabotaging and holding you?
Yeah, there's so many. Okay, so I've chosen 5 of the most common because hopefully by me sharing these, it'll make that little light bulb go off in your mind and like, oh, okay, let me call myself out for a moment. So number 1 is saying, I don't feel ready, even when you've been preparing for like 6 months, because I think sometimes we can fall into the perfectionism, or we want to feel so ready so that nothing could go wrong. But the reality is things could go wrong no matter how ready you are. But by telling ourselves, I'm not ready yet, it means we never have to make the moves that scare us a little bit.
Yes.
Which keep us so safe.
And what does ready actually mean? Like if you break that down, you can't actually be ready because you've never done something before. So it's like a lot of the learning is in the doing, you know, and even, and I guess there's no such thing as like perfect either. So it's like, how can we know or be ready for something we haven't done before?
Yeah.
It's like we can be ready to try it again or to restructure it, but to actually get started is like, I remember my whole philosophy when I started the podcast was like, done is better than perfect, because it's just like I'm 7 years in and I'm still reframing things, tweaking things, changing formats. Like it's an ever growing, like it's a ever evolving kind of like thing when you're in business. So I think that's such a perfect one to start with.
Yeah. Okay. So number 2 is overcomplicating things. And I think as a society, we've been built on this idea that hard work equals success. And when things feel too easy or simplified, we feel like that surely can't create the result I want. And I see this all the time in business where people come to me and they say, I want to increase my income. And I say, great, sell. Like, post it on your Instagram story today, tell people the price and say, who wants it? But in our minds, we think we have to create a massive funnel. We have to prepare for 2 years. We have to film 50 million videos, have every social media post ready before we're allowed to sell. But what if we were actually using that overcomplication, over preparation to continue to play out the belief that hard work equals success?
Yes.
And it actually creates like this resistance on the path to success, because if it was that simple, then we would have to hold the projections on, oh, it's easy for you. How dare you have that success? Or now you've got the money that you always dreamt of. With money comes responsibility, comes delivering on what you've sold. And how that might even look in a health aspect or everyday life where people say, okay, I'm going to start my fitness journey. I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to eat well. And then you try and create this whole crazy meal plan. You flip your life upside down. You think you're going to do like a 7-day workout when you went from 0 to 7. And sometimes the overcomplication is the thing that stops you.
Definitely. I found this, like, I always say that taking the path of least resistance to get started. So, like, what is one task or one thing that you can do today that has the least amount of resistance in your body that will actually get the momentum moving? Because we do overcomplicate it. And exactly the situation or the example you used around like the courses and having everything filmed, I sat on doing a podcasting course for honestly like 4 years. And then other people started doing it and I was like, I had that idea so long ago. But in my mind, what was holding me was that it had to be filmed in a studio and I needed to have money to do that and I didn't know how to edit it. In the end, I ended up just like uploading Instagram stories being like, hey, this is my journey and what I've done. If you want to learn from me, send me a DM. I did it all live on Zoom. And then after I had kind of that proof of the concept and I had, you know, women sign up, I was like, okay, now I can actually film this and I can create it as like a proper course that people can. But I'm like, we overcomplicate the process and think it has to be so much shinier than it does. When just ripping the Band-Aid off and taking that one step towards, you know, getting started. When it was Healthy Hustlers, I literally just registered the business name and then I was like, okay, now I've got like the momentum to keep going. And with the course, it was like Instagram stories. And as soon as I had the first lady sign up, I was like, okay, well, I got to do this.
Sometimes it forces us into
absolutely,
action.
Definitely. So I think exactly to your example, if that is something that's holding you back, and I had a recent client actually who was very aware of her perfectionism with holding her back. So very similar example, but she had planned out her podcast to a T and she sent me through the notes and I was like, this is incredible, like so detailed. And she's like, yes, but this is my like problem that I get so caught in the planning and making my brain think like, wow, you're doing such a good job because this is so planned. But then I don't follow through with the execution. And I think that can be a big one for high achieving perfectionism women as well, is we get caught in that trap of things having to be kind of perfect and well structured and well planned, but no one's seeing that side of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's so, so interesting. And it's really just takes bringing that conscious awareness. Because self-sabotage is usually playing out subconsciously, which means we are not consciously aware and it's happening on autopilot. So as soon as you have the conscious awareness, you have a choice in every moment to continue playing it out or choose a new path.
Definitely. One thing I've found works really well for me, and I don't know if you've used this, but as soon as I've brought that awareness, or like my client who brought up to me, I get caught in the planning phase, I said, well, you've already got the first step because you have the awareness for that. So the easiest way sometimes I feel to shift that is the moment that you know you're getting caught in that pattern again is you've got the awareness and then have an affirmation to move you through to like actually taking the next step. So for me, it was like done's better than perfect. Like when I was spending too much time on a tile art, I was like, Maddie, done is better than perfect. Just export this and upload her.
Done.
So, you know, what could be a, you know, really simple affirmation for you that you could use based on that particular pattern that will actually help you start to take that next step or that next action versus getting caught in that trap and that pattern again.
So, so true. So number 3 is procrastination in a pretty dress disguised as productivity. So sometimes we can be working towards a goal without actually working towards it. So what I mean by that is last year or 2 years ago, I set a goal that I wanted to do my TEDx talk. And it was a big move outside of my comfort zone as very much an introvert saying, you know what, I'm going to go and speak on the biggest stage in the world. Why the hell not? And I was like, I'm a fast action taker. I'm someone who goes out there and makes my goals happen. So what I started to do was research every TEDx in the world because I thought if I pitch to all of them, one of them's going to say yes. Very strategic, very thoughtful. And so I started creating a spreadsheet of all the TEDx in the world and their dates and how to apply because it was different
It is different
to
isn't
apply
it?
to every single different one. They need to streamline that. But anyway, I thought I was really productive researching every day. I was moving the needle towards this goal. I was about 3 weeks in and I hadn't pitched to any of them because I was still working my way through the list. And I got to uphold my identity as a productive, action taker, high achiever, because of course, here I am making the spreadsheet, working towards this big, scary goal. But after 3 weeks, I thought, am I really getting closer to this goal? Because I have not pitched to any of them. And by the time I get to the end of this list, the top ones are going to be expired and then I'm going to have to, it's never ending.
Yes.
And so I called myself out in that moment and I said, let me just pitch to 2 today. Let me pitch to 2 because that is what's actually going to move the needle forward. And I pitched to 2 on a Monday. By Wednesday, I was walking down to the beach. I opened my phone and I had an email that said, we love your idea. We would love to have a chat just to make sure it's the right fit. And by the end of that week, I'd secured my TEDx talk, which was wild because if I had waited, I would have missed the window for that opportunity.
How crazy.
So it's really, really crazy, but it's so easy to fall into those traps, especially when we hold the identity and the concept of self of, I don't self-sabotage.
Yeah.
I'm working towards my goals. But sometimes procrastination doesn't always look like sitting on the couch doing nothing.
Yes.
Sometimes it is actually busy work where we get the dopamine hits, the oxytocin, all the hormones that make us feel really, really good about ourselves. But in reality, we're not doing anything towards that goal.
Definitely.
So starting to notice where that might be playing out is huge.
Absolutely. I think that's a really important one to share. Especially, you know, for the people that listen to your podcast and my podcast, High Achieving Women, and, you know, we're all about the hustle culture and going after the big goals. I think that's a big one that will really spark in a lot of people.
Yeah. Okay. Number 4 is waiting until we feel motivated to take action on something, because sometimes we can be waiting until we feel motivated or even confident as well, like waiting until we have more confidence, waiting until we have more motivation to take action. But ultimately, the only way to build confidence is by taking action.
So true.
And oftentimes what this self-sabotage is playing out as is keeping us safe from judgment, from criticism, from people telling us, who do we think we are? Oftentimes, we need to take action, and that's when the momentum starts to build. Because we start then seeing results.
Yes.
And we get motivated by the action.
It's so true. I think that like we can so easily let our emotions kind of like be in the driving seat and dictate what we do.
Yeah.
But it's like when you actually take that action, your emotions will shift with that. So I love that one. I think that's, really important for people.
So powerful. Number 5 is overcommitting our calendar, because again, I think we live in a society where rest feels unsafe, particularly if you're highly ambitious. It's almost like these beliefs in the back of our mind that say, you're never going to reach your goals if you relax today. You're never going to get there. Someone else is going to beat you to it. You're going to fail. And so it's almost like this safety net of hustle.
Yes.
As much as consciously we're like, I'm burnt out. I just want to rest today. I need to chill out. But whenever you go to rest, your mind and body creates busyness. It's like you're finished for the day, but then you end up spending another hour fiddling about with your calendar, fiddling about with your computer. You're like, what did I even do this past hour? But you almost create a busyness out of habit and out of the belief that it's not safe or productive to rest.
Yes. I think that's such a big one, especially with the rise, you know, in early years around that, you know, girl boss culture that we really saw play out. It's like, you know, and even now I see it in motherhood where women are holding, you know, careers with also children. And there's this whole thing of like, how does she do it all? And the reality is no one actually does it all. Like a lot of the time when you get to those levels, they have teams or they have nannies or au pairs, all of these support networks around them. But we've built up to believe that for me to achieve something, I need to be hustling till burnout, basically.
Yeah.
Or else it's like, it's too easy, and it shouldn't be easy. It should be hard.
Yeah.
So we've got away with, or used to as a society, almost like glamorizing that side of it, that our brains believe that, you know, to have success, it needs to be really hard.
Yeah.
And it needs to feel challenging and, you know, a lot to juggle and to hold, when I feel like it actually can be quite easeful if we allow that spaciousness. And I'm so big on the kind of like philosophy that your energy is actually the thing that draws in the opportunities and the people. So if we can be nurturing that more than the like push,
Yes.
that's going to produce so much more goodness in your world than that real hardcore hustle.
It's such a hard thing to rewire, because I went through my own burnout time multiple times, and I learned, okay, let me look at this. But when I started to rewire my belief systems around success, gets to feel easy.
Yes.
Rest is safe for me. It felt so counterintuitive. But what I've noticed now is whenever I'm in those moments of, why am I not getting the results? I'm putting in the work, things are not flowing, I let go. And I think, what do I need for me right now? Is that to rest? Do I need to go to the beach? Do I need to fill up my cup and just go and have fun? And I kid you not, I cannot make this up. Anytime I go to the beach or do that, the income drops in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where did that come from? Obviously, it came from the work I had put in, but nothing ever flows in terms of results when I'm in that hustle, low vibe energy. And it sounds like magic and it sounds woo-woo, but I truly make my most money when I go to the beach.
And I love that you share that sort of stuff, even the fact that you're like, I don't do early mornings, and I like, you know, love watching TV in my pajamas. I'm like, I love that you celebrate and share that, because I think it's such an important piece of the puzzle and something I've really tried to inject into my life, because when I think about my next level and the woman that does have the capacity to hold the career and the kids and a very calm nervous system for the kids, she goes to the sauna and she nurtures herself. And that's something that I've really gotten a lot, I guess, stricter or more diligent on embodying this year. So I've started to do 2:30 saunas on a Thursday before I pick up my daughter from school, because I'm like, that's what, you know, a regulated version, the next level of me who is regulated and holding the career does. So I'm going to start doing that now. And same thing, it's always I come out and there's an email or an opportunity that I'm like, oh, of course this happened when I'm feeling so good doing my meditation and having my little sweaty session in the sauna.
It's so hard to rewire. And sometimes my clients come to me and they're like, sounds lovely. But then in the back of their mind, they're like,
not doing it.
Not for me. But I had a client and she was like, Jess, one day I just thought, let me trial it out. So she went. She spent the whole morning at the park with her daughter. She was like, I've been working all week. Nothing was flowing. Let me just see. And she was like, I made my most money that morning than I did the whole month.
Crazy.
And it doesn't make any logical sense.
No.
But energetics are so
I know.
powerful. Our belief systems are literally running our entire reality.
Yes.
So it's really, really powerful. So those are obviously just 5 signs. Some of the more common ones, there are so many different ways that this can play out though. And it really takes a lot of self-awareness. So we're putting together a workbook, a little journaling session for you guys, or you can get it in the show notes. And it's free so
Totally
that you
free.
can reflect on all of this. But my biggest tip is look for patterns or areas in your life where things feel like there's a resistance.
Yes.
Or where there might be a pattern of not getting the results you want or not having the flow you want, and start to look at what are the behaviors attached to that, and just get really, really curious on what behaviors, what patterns might be self-sabotage, And then in our next episode, we're going to tell you how to rewire them.
Yes, I loved that so much. And I'm a really big believer that like the universe will often challenge us. So when we are in that leveling up process or calling in, say, more opportunities or a more thriving career or better health, the universe will often test us to see if we are actually capable of holding that desire. So when you bring in that curiosity as well, the challenges, like because you will bring awareness, the challenges might start to appear.
Yes.
And I think that that's also an opportunity to really reframe that as not that you're not capable, it's just like, where do I need to shift the pattern now to keep moving, to show to the universe that I'm actually capable of holding this? Because all it is like you've reached your current threshold and you're literally stepping into that next level, which requires more from you, which is breaking these patterns.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to dive into the next episode. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much.